Hitesh Patel has finished his MD scheme from Baroda Medical College in 1990, worked as a consultant dermatologist at ESIS General Hospital, Baroda since 23 years from 1995, started serious investing from 2009, joined Value Picker as a founding member since 2010. Investment style includes combination of fundamental and technofunda investing. He loves traveling, sports, music and reading. Over to you, sir.
Thanks for the introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Surat people, for welcoming me, and specifically Vikram Bhai for getting so many people together. I hope I live up to the expectations, and I've been handed the task of Soto Ko Jagao. After lunch, it's very difficult, so let's hope it goes well. So basically, my talk will mainly be focused on multibaggers, and technofunda maybe I'll cover a little bit of it, but it's too big a subject, and I think a lot of talk has been taken care of by Dr. Neeraj Chawla. So this is about me, and this is my guru's photo. So, and this is my Bhagavad Gita. So this is a book that has transformed my life. So, where does the multibagger idea come from? So, sources of ideas. Basically, idea can come from anywhere. These days, the problem is about plenty. You have to filter out almost 90% of the stuff and then look at the rest of the 10% in detail. So, I'll be talking about how to filter and how to zero in on a particular stock with a higher possibility of launching a multibagger going forward. So, the idea sources can be research reports. Nowadays, we have got a lot of fellow investors, advisories, WhatsApp, everything here is included in this list. I don't need to elaborate. There are a lot of slides, so I will be a little bit fast because I will going to complete within a stipulated time frame. So, these are the mental models I will be talking about. Mental models is basically શરૂમાં પિક્ચર એકદમ ધૂંધળું હોય છે ત્યારે મલ્ટીબાગર કેવા દેખાતા હોય છે. And as time goes, the picture becomes more and more clearer, and then you end up making lots of money. So that is how the talk will go. Basically, once we come across any situation in an idea, જેમ કે કોઈ પણ સોર્સથી તમારી પાસે આઈડિયા આવ્યા હોય, તો at least you should have a brief mental model કે ભાઈ આ ટાઈપનો સ્ટોક હોય તો જોવાય, આ ટાઈપનો સ્ટોક હોય તો જોવાય. આ સિચ્યુએશનમાં you have got higher chances of finding a multibagger. So I will discuss all those situations that can lead up to a multibagger and with examples. But this is only a starting point. Any idea that you pick up, you will have to do the hard work, you will have to do the digging, and the best sources to dig the company details is the annual report, conference calls, AGM, Cuttlebutt, etc. So these are all authentic sources. આમાં કોઈનો bias ના આવે. તમે પોતે annual report વાંચો છો, પોતે conference call સાંભળો છો, and it's not only about one conference call. You try to do it sequentially. Listen to every conference call, read the last 5 years annual report, management શું બોલે છે અને શું કરે છે, whether they are walking the talk or not. That is very important in developing your own confidence in the management. So the first model, which is very obvious, Vikram Bhai જેના બહુ fond છે, is consistent growth. So this is a consistent compounder category. These are the well-known growth stories, but if you catch them in the early phase of their journey, then they will lead to your quick multibaggers. Because initially what happens is nobody knows about these companies, nobody is confident about these companies, and they are available at very cheap valuations. If you catch them at those time periods, you will have the benefit of growth plus re-rating. Initially a 5 PE stock, you pick it up, if it gets re-rated to say 30-35 PE, you make 6 to 7 times returns only by re-rating part only. The growth is additional. So focus has to be on long runway for consistent growth. These are very important words. We are interested in a company which is going to keep growing at a predictable rate for very long periods of time. This is the hallmark of a consistent compounder. We do not want to get into companies where you have got 3 years growth, પછી 3 વર્ષ માટે સૂઈ જાય, then again they wake up, those are not good consistent compounds. Even if the growth is 10%, 15%, but if it is consistent, they will get very high valuations. One example is Hindustan Lever. You can track the record of that company. Maybe ITC, something like that. So, expecting 40% growth is too much. There will be only one Bajaj Finance for every 10 stocks or maybe 100 stocks. But even if you land a company which is growing at 10-15% annualized with good balance sheet, everything else falling in place, then very high chances of getting a consistent compound. Sources of growth can be new products, same company making new products, new geographies, company going into new geographies with the same product, or many times a combination of both of these, which is the best deal to have. So those are the examples. આ બધા કેસીસમાં you need to check the balance sheet, you need to check the promoter integrity, management quality. Basically, દીકરીને કોઈ ફેમિલીમાં આપવા જેવી વાત છે. You need to analyze the family you are marrying your daughter into. એટલે એની તમારે કુંડલી કરાવી જ પડે. અમારા જે technofunda વાળા હોય એમાં we are not too worried about the quality of the promoters because we are not interested in remaining with them for too long. Here you are going to invest in these companies for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line. So you need to be very confident. So one of the most important models we have found out is new promoters. Many times what happens is because of lethargy on the part of the existing promoters કે બહુ પૈસા થઈ ગયા ત્યારે કઈ મહેનત નથી કરવી અથવા next generation અયાશીમાં આવી ગયું છે and they are not focusing on the business. Or any other structural problem, too much of capex without respecting the balance sheet, then the company lands in trouble. આવી બધી સિચ્યુએશનમાં many times the company has to be sold to a private equity partner or some other promoter who comes into the business. These are often the very fertile grounds of picking up big multibaggers. Now, the focus will obviously shift to business and growth. Otherwise, what happens? I'll just give you an example of JB Chemicals. JB Chemicals used to trade at less than net cash at one point of time. 60 rupees price હતી એની અને 80 rupees એની balance sheet પર net cash હતી. It was just a no-brainer. Many people latched on to it and અત્યારે it's almost what 2800 kind of thing, 50 bagger without any tension, nothing. But what happened was initially the market was quick to recognize the net cash situation. But after that, there was not much growth. The promoters were three brothers, J.B. Modiakan, Bhaiya, and they were all aged at around 80-85 as recently as 3-4-5 years back. So basically, it was a sleepy company. It was not going anywhere. And then suddenly the management decides to sell off the business to some private equity partner. Now, basically, the business model is really good. It has got excellent presence in Russian geography, CIS states. US business was already growing. India, they have got a very dominant presence, JB Chemicals. So, being doctors, we should know more about the company. So, it was right for the picking. So, once the private equity guys came in, they brought in a new CEO who was well qualified, who knew the business. And then the stock has gone up almost 3 times within 4-5 years now. Another example is SL Propec. Now, for those who don't know about it, SL Propec used to belong to the Z group of companies. It is very famous for all kinds of misadventures. But what the company does is it makes lamid tubes for your Colgate. And it has a global presence. And Colgate is never going to die till humanity lasts. So, the promoter had to sell this company to find out ways to raise funds. I think it was at around 80-85 rupees when the company got sold. And some of our Baroda-based investors were quick to get into it and they made a very quick two-bagger in 3 months. So, many times these things come. CG Power is an example I have in front of my eyes. I saw the company being sold when the stock price was 25 rupees. There was just no business to talk about. See, Compton Greaves Group was run by Thapar. They are again the black sheep of the industry. Vikram Thapar, I don't know what exactly his name, Gautam Thapar or Vikram Thapar. He was never interested in the business. એને તો કંજૂર માર્ટી જમીન વેચવી હતી બસ. He wanted 800 to 1,000 crores out of that. So this was a sick unit, not going anywhere, and the company was bought by Multibagger Group, which is one of the most respected business houses in the country. Now, in this kind of situation, we are getting it for 25 bucks, and a reputed promoter coming in. Even if there is no business, you have to rely on that particular promoter. કે એને આમાં કંઈક તો જોયું હશે ને. તો હું એની જોડે ગાડીમાં જોડે મફતમાં બેસવા મળે છે તો બેસી જવું. Let me take a ride. And I think the stock price has gone up to 400, 500 kind of levels. So these are very low risk kind of entry points for multibaggers. Because already the stock price is beaten down, the promoter had to sell it off in a distressed sale. So the new promoters buy very cheap. At that time, initially there is something called street tag. લોકો પણ માનતા નથી હોતા કે આ કેવી રીતના ચાલી શકે. So that time you can take a small position, then scale it up as the growth comes along. Very recent example is Magma FinCorp. પૂનાવાલા પાસે વેક્સિનના બહુ પૈસા આવ્યા હતા. They were looking around for something to invest in because they knew that vaccine is not going to go on forever. They bought Magma FinCorp. Now Magma FinCorp in his earlier avatar was a tractor financing kind of company, very sleepy company, not going anywhere. Once this guy came in, he pumped in a lot of money. And for any kind of lending business, money is like oxygen. You can get your growth very quickly. If NPS come, they are going to come down 3-5 years down the line. But by that time, you have multiplied your money 3, 5, 10 times. Recent example is Eveready Industries stake bought by Burmans of Dabur Group. So that is something that is work in progress. You guys can look at it. Again, Eveready has got a very good brand, and they can use that brand to launch adjacent products. Next is the new management. So basically here we are talking about the same group of promoters. Some promoters decide that next generation is not interested in running the business, let's bring in a professional CEO. Now what happens is that guy has a lot to prove. If he turns around this company successfully, then he has got a wonderful track record to boast about in his next job. Or he has built a reputation for himself that this guy can turn around businesses. So he will work really hard if the promoters give him a free hand. So, and the other example is the same group of promoters bringing a next generation of sons or daughters to run the business. So classic example is Siddharth Lal in case of Eicher. Again, Eicher was a very sleepy company. Bullet was already existing at that point of time. I remember one of my friends used to own Bullet. And the કાયમનો problem હતો કે પેટ્રોલ પતી ગઈ, પેટ્રોલ ખલાસ થઈ ગયું. This guy came in and improved the engine quality, improved the battery quality. And now we know Bullet is almost a status symbol. So, and the stock price has gone up like, I remember, I think 95, 96, the stock price was around 15 bucks. Currently it's around 35, 3700. Recent example again of the same thing is Time Techno. So Time Techno earlier CEO used to overpromise and underdeliver. And he had got a very poor sense of capital allocation. Foreign the company of no returns from those companies for years at a time. There was the promise, nothing came about. Now fortunately or unfortunately, that guy passed away. And the family decided to bring in a smart guy named Baroda. So he immediately, once he came into the company, the first thing he started talking about was reducing debt, selling of non-profitable subsidiaries, and his focus on ROE. Now he knows what kind of things he needs to do to get a better valuation for his company, and I think he is on track. So I got into this company when the stock price was around 80-85 rupees. There was a sense of disbelief because this is a company which is comparable to the Supreme Industries or those kind of companies. Product profile, the plastics money, value addition you try to earn your profits. That is their business model. They have been talking about composite cylinders since a long time. આજે આપણા LPG cylinder are the metal now. They are trying to manufacture it from composite so that the weight gets reduced. So only recently they are exhibiting an order of 75 lakh LPG bottles of composite cylinders. The results have been very good since past couple of quarters. This guy is now saying that by September quarter end I will be able to give you some good news about sale of non-profitable subsidiaries overseas. Overseas they have got companies in 3 different geographies. And what in the recent chairman's speech, they have mentioned that they are in advanced stock in 2 of the geographies. Where આમાંથી પૈસા આવે અને debt reduce થશે તો many times what happens is whatever debt is reduced gets added to the market cap. Or even the sentiment side also gets affected. By this guy means business, એ જે બોલ્યો તો એ બધું અત્યારે કરવાનું. Alembic and Ajanta were the examples of new generation coming into the company. Chirayu, never focused on the business much, but once his son came, he used his skills to develop the business in the US geography, and then the stock price had gone up from 40-50 to currently 700-800 kind of levels. They have faltered recently because again of very poor capital allocation decisions. They expanded capacities a lot and they did not get US FDA approvals for a long period of time. Netco, again another example, Rajiv Nanapan turned the fortunes of the company. Another model is balance sheet cleanup. So basically, whenever a company which is not going anywhere, a sleepy company, ridden with debt, it starts reducing its debt materially. Then that is usually the first sign of a long-term turnaround. So how does the debt get reduced? So most common thing is fund infusion either from promoters or marquee investors getting in, or either sale of assets or sale of loss-making subsidiaries. We have got examples of sale of assets in Usha Martin and Kamath hotels. Usha Martin used to own commodity steel business, which they sold to Tata Steel for 4,200 crores. And they were saddled with a debt of around 4,700 crores. So immediately the debt part reduced drastically. And again there was some friction between 2 cousins who were joint equity holders in the company, Rajiv Jawar and Prasant Jawar. So Rajiv Jawar got hold of the business. Prasant Jawar has been consistently selling his stake in the market. That is why you see a lot of selling happening off and on in Usha Martin. But the business remains robust. I'll be talking more about Usha Martin when I give the example of a specific company. Current example of debt reduction is Jain Irrigation. Now they are talking about debt reduction. The debt has come down from around say 5,500 crore to 3,600 crores. Even a look at screener, and in that balance sheet part you can look at the borrowings. And if you read the conference call, they are mentioning that in FY24 they are going to reduce debt by a further 600 crores. Now, if all these things start getting in place, then probably you are looking at a multibagger because their business is mainly drip irrigation. And in India, water is going to be a big problem for farmers and everybody else. And drip irrigation already is catching up and is going to catch up even more. He is the dominant player besides Netafim. Next is there was a guy named Andrew Sleodsky. So he wrote a whole book on value migration. You can read up that book, it is available for free. You can just Google it, value migration, and you will get a whole PDF. And this was a concept which was popularized by Ramdev Agarwal. So he talks a lot about value migration. So what is it? Basically it is a flow of economic and shareholder value from obsolete to new business model. So આપણા બધાનો એક પર્સનલ એક્સપિરિયન્સ છે અબાઉટ ગોઈંગ ટુ PSU બેંક. પેલો કહેશે આ જે સાહેબ આયા નથી કાલે આવજો. Nobody is answering you. અહીંયા જાઓ તો પેલા સાહેબ પાસે જાઓ. કંઈ ગયા તો કહેશે જમવા ગયા છે. These are the kind of answers you get in a PSU bank. And contrast that to your private bank experience. So there has been a very swift shift in the market share from PSU banks to private banks. And that is probably the reason why PSU banks have underperformed for so long, and now they have become extreme value buys. And અત્યારે જે PSU bank નું ચાલ્યું છે, part of it is this. Next is transformation from unorganized to organized sprint છે. So basically the classic example is Titan. પહેલા આપણે જે જ્વેલરી લેવા જતા હતા તો we used to go to our family Sony. એને ત્યાં જે ડિઝાઇન હોય એમાંથી છોકરીને પસંદ કરવાનું હોય. Titan came up with the concept of bulk manufacturing. They give you a lot of choices. They give you quality plus assurance કે તમારું ક્યારે પણ બગડે તો ઇન્ડિયામાં કોઈ પણ ટાઇટન શોરૂમમાં જજો અમારા માણસ તમને તરત રિપેર કરી આપશે if possible, otherwise within 1 or 2 days. So that kind of guarantee was never there. Lifestyle changes. તો પહેલા જે હતું, this is all talk about underwear. તો પહેલા જે નાણાં લોકો પહેરતા હતા, and then once people latched on to jockey brand, nobody wants to go down. Not even Rupa, not even anything else. Jockey no ekdam loyal customer base. And the promoters are really smart. They went into adjacent products. જોકીના નેપકિન મૂક્યા, સોક્સ મૂક્યા. તમે જોકીના સ્ટોરમાં જાઓ તો ખાલી અંડરવેર માટે જાઓ અને 4 વસ્તુ લઈને બહાર નીકળશો. Emerging platforms. So these are the companies which address the unmet need of the large population size. Zomato, imagine તમારે પહેલા કસેથી ખાવાનું મંગાવવું હોય પોસિબલ હતું ના. આખા સિટીમાંથી હાર્ડલી maybe 1%, 2% restaurants used to supply at home. Smaller players where there is a market, Delfu is one I remember in Baroda. But nobody with scale, and this guy comes up with a whole all India platform. You can track your order, કે ક્યાં પહોંચ્યો છે. You can talk to the restaurant people કે ભાઈ મને તીખું નથી ખાવું, કેવું ખાવું છે. You get all kinds of service. And અત્યાર સુધી this company was in a cash burn phase because એ લોકોને તમને લત લગાડી દીધી. હવે most of us, આપણા બધાના છોકરાઓને આની લત લાગી ગઈ છે, right? So most recent thing what they have done is they have put in 1 rupee of platform charge per order. આ કોઈએ નોટિસ નહીં કર્યું હોય તો નેક્સ્ટ બિલિંગ આવે એમાં જોજો 1 રૂપિયો પ્લેટફોર્મ ચાર્જ લગાવ્યો છે, which is totally directly close to the bottom line. એને કશું જ ખર્ચો નથી કરવાનો, એ સીધો પ્રોફિટમાં જાય છે. વેરી સ્માર્ટ મૂવ. અને હું તમે જોવાનો નથી, 500 રૂપિયાનો ઓર્ડર હોય 1 રૂપિયો વધારે લાગે આપણને નથી કરવું. So in US, similar kind of examples were Amazon and Netflix and many other companies. So basically this is the concept of value migration. Then another model is ancillary plays. So fancied sectors na je ancillary plays hoy. So the classic example which we also enjoyed was chemical sector and pharma sector were having a dream run post COVID. And we tried to figure out who benefits besides these players themselves. Okay, हमने એવું છે કે મોટો સ્ટેક લેવો છે કંપનીમાં. We want to buy a big chunk in my portfolio, say 10% or 15%. I don't want to go around buying 2% of different chemical companies or a pharma company. So we found out that GMM Pfaudler and HLE Glascoat were the only 2 players in India who were making glass-lined vessels, which every pharma company, which every chemical company needs to have. એના સિવાય ના ચાલે. I attended the AGM of both these companies. Karamsad પાસે જ છે. Not many people were there at that point of time, which indicates કે પબ્લિકને ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ નહોતો. અને હવે તમે એમની AGM એટેન્ડ કરવા જાઓ 2 વર્ષ પહેલા ગયા હોત તો બેસવાની જગ્યા નથી. So, and the stock price, HLE Glascoat, I think went up from 170, 180 to close to 5,000 or 7,000 kind of rupees. But अब आज GMM Pfaudler नहीं करे थे, HLE Glascoat was a bigger wealth creator. Another example we can look at is Exide and Amar Raja. Everybody talks about electric batteries. Both these guys have committed to investing large sums of money in lithium-ion batteries. Plus, છેલ્લા 2-3 વર્ષથી તમે એટલીસ્ટ 1-1.5 વર્ષથી everybody is knowing there's a lot of waiting period in any car that you want to buy. There's such a huge demand. So after 2 years, 3 years, maybe the battery will need to be replaced. These people already supply to the OEMs, and replacement market also is largely captured by only these 2 players. So these most like they have run up little bit both the stocks, but I think they can do some more also. Fluorochem is an example of an ancillary play of electric vehicles and renewables. Fluorochem is on the verge of starting its LiPF6 plant, which will cater to battery chemicals, and it is going to be, as of now, only the first player in India to supply battery chemicals. So anybody who manufactures lithium-ion battery in India will have to go to Fluorochem people to buy these kind of things. There is a salt called LiPF6, which only they are manufacturing. Greaves cotton can be used, looked at in the EV theme. They make two-wheeler and three-wheeler electric vehicles. You can read through the conference call. Basically, it is a transformation of the company from a plain diesel engine manufacturer into what they call as a fuel agnostic engine manufacturer. So they don't want to depend too much on diesel only. They want to get into electric vehicles, into CNG vehicles, all kinds of things. The growth in three-wheeler electric vehicles has been very encouraging if you go through the latest conference calls. Another model is spin-offs. So this we will encounter any time of the day. मोटी कंपनी हो या मादी nano part separate થઈ જાય. And Reliance मादी Jio Financial छुट्टी पड़ी गई doesn't mean that we go out and buy. It is just a starting point. You try to understand the business of Jio Financials. And then you'll find out that there are business of nothing. And evaluation tomorrow is the future projections. So this is not something that we want to get into. I have an example of some of my friends from Ahmedabad who are invested in Aarti Pharma Labs. So this is a company different from Aarti Drugs. This was a spin-off from Aarti Industries. They used to make certain specialty chemicals related to pharma sector, which are called xanthan derivatives. And that is a very niche sector. Very few companies are there in that particular sector. And they did a lot of research work. You can read a lot about it on Value Picker also. Another example is same from the Aarti group is Aarti Surfactant. Aarti Surfactant manufactures products that are used in manufacturing shampoos, all those kind of products. So those are the kind of products which are never going to go out of fashion. The demand will remain. The stock has corrected from say around 1500, 1800 kind of levels to current levels of 600. Because at 1800 it was a part of the chemical craze. Anything goes. People were ready to pay anything for it. But once it has fallen down, nobody is ready to look at it. I have started buying some small tracking quantities only. I will see once the results improve. Many times we see 1 or 2 quarters of good results and still the stock price doesn't move. That is my window of opportunity. Now the example is Epigral. So it was a demerged part from Make Money. Make Money Fine Chem no alog naam Epigral કર્યું હતું અને chemical boom માં the stock went up 3 times within a few months post the spin-off. So another example is margin improvement. See, I talk a lot about all these different models that you will come across for multibaggers. Now, you do not need to focus only on one model. There will be places where a lot of things will be falling in place. You don't need to take these recordings and all. I'll share this my PPT in the group. આમાં કોઈ trade secret નથી કશી મોટી. So, companies with huge turnovers, 10,000, 15,000 crores of turnover, if there is a margin improvement of only 1%, the profits tends to magnify. So we are seeing such example in McDowell's. What they did was they started reducing their focus on tail end brands, and the premium category brands which were more profitable for the company got more funds for expansion also and for advertisements also, everything. And the percentage of revenues coming from the higher end brands kept on increasing, and the stock price has gone up from say 600, 700 to currently 1000 rupees. Now the results have not been very consistent, but market is excited about it. Whenever the results comes through, this will shoot through the roof. Kirloskar Ferrous was another example. Basically, it was a pig iron manufacturer, which had got a small element of sales from manufacturing to auto ancillaries. Then they started focusing more and more on the auto ancillary products. products. And the first intention came out when they bought ISMT, Indian Seamless Metal Tubes. So which was a Sikh company. These guys bought it, and what they have done is they have laid the groundwork for expansion into value-added products. Steel is a garbage business. Steel ma paisa consistently na bane. You have to ride the cycle. Tata Steel અત્યારે જે લે છે 2 વર્ષ પછી એનો ભાવ કેટલો હશે nobody knows. ઉપર બી હોય નીચે બી હોય, we don't know. We don't want to bother about also. But these kind of companies will create a lot of wealth for their shareholders, because cyclical companies will get valuations from 5 to 10 P. Usha Martin used to get 8 to 10 P valuation when the business was combined with steel, commodity steel. Once that business got sold off, atyare Usha Martin I think is quoting at close to 30 P. And still people are not ready to sell. That's the important thing. Next model is industry tailwinds. અત્યારે આપણે જે બધા જોઈએ છે, this is that example. Flavor of the season. And the flavor of the season keeps changing every 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. અત્યારે defense the railways છે. Everybody is excited about it. Latest kid on the block is PSU banks and PSU companies. Now we don't know till when all this music is going to last. But if you know how to ride them, these are the ways to make your quick multibaggers. Imagine the kind of money people made in chemical stocks. Those went up 5 times, 10 times within a period of what, 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. Chemical cycle ran only for that period of time, maybe 2 to 3 years. But those who knew how to ride it made tremendous amount of money. And those who thought that these were great companies at the top of the valuation, when they are featured in newspapers, promoters come on TV and talk a lot about their business. हमारा margin sustainable है, हम से, तेम से. They have all corrected more than 50%, most of them. So there is a way to ride those things, but if you know how to ride them, you can make lots of money. Again, the same thing probably I see happening in defense and railways. Somebody can argue, okay, government want to do spending છે, આમ છે, તેમ છે. I was asked a question today on Value Picker also. There is a term coined as order book investing. क्या ओके આ કંપની પાસે 10,000 કરોડનો ઓર્ડર છે અને 10,000 કરોડનો માર્કેટ કેપ આપવું જોઈએ. So this is something I saw back in 2007-8 when infrastructure companies used to run on what is called bill to book ratio, એવું કંઈક એનું નામ હતું. And they were given valuation based on their order book. And then we know all the orders evaporated and nothing came out. So I listed down the examples of each and every industry tailwind sector, pharma, chemicals, defense. You can just go through it. I'll share the PPT. Turnaround. This is one of Peter Lynch's most favorite fertile grounds. If you can catch hold of a turnaround company when it is turning around, you will end up with 5 bagger, 10 bagger, 20 bagger very easily. So there are certain things. So basically you can look out for a survivor in a sector in pain. કોઈ પણ sector હોય જ્યારે અત્યારે માનો કે chemical sector is in pain. Even at the ground level, you meet any chemical industry expert, he will tell you that demand na bહુ problem છે, China થી dumping થાય છે, આમ થાય છે, તેમ થાય છે. Now over the next 6 or 12 months or maybe 2 years, there will be a few companies who will emerge even stronger than before. Why? Because the companies which have expanded a lot without any respect to the balance sheet are going to go bankrupt. So these bigger companies or successful companies are going to find it very easy to capture that particular market share. તમારી પાસે market share વધારે આવી જાય તો you are in a position to dictate a little bit of pricing history. So that is how you can look at it. Another example is a sleepy company is waking up. When you are some companies they are just sleeping around. Classic example is D-Link India. D-Link India used to manufacture modems for this IT industry, and they came up with CCTV camera and all these things. Numbers never came through, but there is something called a street lag of 1, 2 or 3 quarters. So I think 6 months back the situation was that the stock price was around 20 to 30 kind of levels, and you already had 2 quarters of very good results behind you. And still the markets were not noticing these results. The company was not given any respect because पांचला 5 वर्ष का ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड इज प्लेइंग ऑन द माइंड ऑफ द इन्वेस्टर. इस कंपनी ने तो कुछ नहीं किया है, इसका कुछ नहीं हो सकता. And then after the third quarter supposedly turns out to be good or fourth quarter turns out to be good, then the market starts waking up and then everybody wants to rush to buy. So then the stock price goes up very quickly. Here I think it is around 325, 330 kind of levels. And the importance is not about the percentage returns. The importance is at 230 it was available at 10 PE, net cash balance sheet. There was nothing to lose. You can buy as much as you want. And plus you had 2 quarters of good growth behind you. It was visible to you. Problem was this company did not do conference calls. They did not meet any investors. Nothing. Basically a Korean and Taiwanese company. They are not interested in all this nonsense. So the thing you can do is you do a little bit of scuttlebutt. તમે કોઈ મોટા સ્ટોરમાં જાઓ, you ask the guy કે ભાઈ આ પ્રોડક્ટ કેવું વેચાય છે, અથવા you go to the AGM, ask some smart questions to the management and you get your answers and maybe buy. Other examples of turnarounds are Renuka Sugar. It was taken over by Wilmar Group, which is a huge group in these kind of commodity businesses. Stock price was I think at around 8-10 rupees for a long period of time. Currently I think it's above 50. It has been helped by the sugar cycle also. Other example, Suzlon is the real new kid in the block. But there I'm getting some feedback from some people I know, best side fall 100 rupiya देंगे से ले लो. I don't know whether it happen or not. HCC is a debt restructuring story. ITD Cementation is a good company enjoying strong tailwinds currently. Tips Saregama, everybody knows the business model. With the advent of Spotify and everything, all the library that they had, which was not producing anything, now suddenly starts producing lots of money. Wabag is a water management company. Next is cyclicals. So cyclicals is something which you need how to ride. You cannot confuse cyclicals with structural growth stories. So examples of cyclicals are steel, cement, paper, chemicals, tire, textiles, polyfill. These have got a very short cycle. For us, maximum 2.5-3 years the cycle will last. And then there will be problem of oversupply because once the cycle improves, everybody wants to expand capacities. ऊंचा भावे stake sale आवे. They get money. अर्धा promoters घरमा पैसा ले जाए, अर्धा promoters business में लगाए. And in both the situations the company loses. भाव बढ़े एनी साथे तमारो एक company बाबत में opinion, suddenly you start changing your view. Chemical company, Lakshmi, I think there was this company Lakshmi Organics, and I read on Just Talks group when it was at around 600. Somebody wrote, "લઈ લો અને છોકરાના નામે કરી દો." તો છોકરો ગાળો આપશે તમને કે આ તમે હું મૂકી ગયા તમારા માટે. So you have to know what you are buying into. It was good till the ride from say 600 to 800. But end of the day you have to know this is a chemical company. 200 રૂપિયા or 600 રૂપિયા થઈ ગયો ભાવ, that doesn't mean the company business quality improve થઈ ગઈ. It is only the company is enjoying very strong tailwinds. And these tailwinds are going to last only for a certain period of time. જે દિવસે ચાઇનાનું પ્રોડક્શન ચાલુ થયું, pollution control norms ને બધા લફડા પૂરા થઈ ગયા. Once Chinese production started, all these chemical companies which are running on shortages, the major thing for these chemical companies to run was shortages. There was acute shortage of all these products because of shipping problems, because of Chinese pollution problems. You have to know exactly why these stocks are running, and then there is a point where you have to pull the trigger and sell these stocks. Healthcare, real estate, infrastructure have much longer cycles. So if you buy at the right price, you can afford to hold them for say 3, 5, 7 years, whatever time frame. And the real consistent compounder category is say FMCG, top private banks, top financials, IT. Till now I used to believe IT is a very stable business, but now I am starting to have my doubts. because the labor arbitrage benefit that Indian IT companies used to have is now gradually going away. So US companies also have figured out कि આ લોકો સાલા સસ્તામાં કામ કરાવે છે ને આપણી જોડેથી બહુ મોટા બિલો પડાવે છે. So now they are also screwing these companies in terms of pricing. This is an example of our perfect fit are two companies called REC and PFC. The numbers, you check everything, nothing has changed, nothing. I was just talking to Vimal Bhai, the stock price has gone up from 120 or 100 rupees, I think, REC to around 250, and PFC has gone also similarly. Only the perception of the market has changed. And probably that is to do with the change of perception in the power sector. કે મોદીજી આવીને પાવર સેક્ટરમાં જે રિફોર્મ્સ કર્યા છે તો જે ડિસ્કોમ્સ એટલે સ્ટેટના જે પાવર કંપનીઝ હતી જેમ ગુજરાતમાં જીઈબી હતી, નાઉ ધેટ હેઝ બીન પ્રાઇવેટાઇઝ્ડ. So wherever possible he is doing these kind of things because he wants to improve the running of these businesses. Naytar pehla these were very corrupt and weak organizations. Now there is a huge change in power equation. So probably these were funding the various power projects, renewable energy projects, and now they are funding things. PSU banks, another example we talked about. One example is Mukund. It is a live example. I'll come to that later. So there are often multi-year breakouts associated with disbelief. REC used to face resistance from around band of 125 to 135. Every time post dividend it used to crash to 100 rupees. 10 rupiya dividend આપતો હતો અને પછી પાછો ડિવિડન્ડના ટાઈમે પાછો it crawled back, went up to 120, 130, again came down. So many years, I think 7-8 years, this was the history. Investors did not make money. Once the stock price crossed 120, 130 kind of levels, you just know what kind of move the stock price has made. So that is the importance of multi-year breakouts associated with disbelief. કારણ કે બધાને એવું જોઈએ કે આ વખતે નીકળ્યો છે પણ પાછો જાય જશે નીચે. એ પાછો ના આવે, પેલો રેસ હોર્સ જેવો છે, તબેલામાંથી નીકળ્યો પાછો નથી આવ્યો. Another model is capex companies. So there many companies seeing the demand of their business will go into capital expenditure. हमारा capacity expand करवी चाहिए करीने they will expand capacities. And markets usually are excited by these events. Oh, આ કંપની તો 700 કરોડનું capex કર્યું છે, આટલું સેલ્સ આવશે, આટલું 3 વર્ષના પ્રોજેક્શન એક દિવસથી આવી જાય. Now they need to know that initially there will be teething problems for this company. એને ડેપ્રિસિએશન બહુ હાઈ આવવાનું છે, ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ કોસ્ટ હાઈ આવવાની છે, અને તમે ઇન્ડિયામાં તમને ખબર છે તમે કોઈ કેપેસિટી એક્સપાન્શન કરી છે તો તમને 1000 પ્રોબ્લેમ આવશે. ઇલેક્ટ્રિસિટીની લાઈન લેવાવાળાથી માંડીને તમારો પ્રોબ્લેમ ચાલુ થશે, પોલ્યુશનવાળા છેલ્લે આવશે અમારું. સો these are the kind of problems these companies will encounter. હવે ઓલરેડી કેપેક્સના નામે ભાવ વધી ચૂકેલો છે. 2 ક્વાર્ટર 3 ક્વાર્ટર સુધી ઇન્વેસ્ટર્સ રાહ જોશે, પછી થાકી જશે બધા કે આનું તો કંઈ થતું નથી. અગેન ચેન્જ ઓફ પરસેપ્શન, બધા વેચે છે. સો ધ કંપની વિલ બી બીટન ડાઉન ટુ અનબિલીવેબલ લેવલ્સ, અને દેટ ઇઝ એક્ઝેક્ટલી ધ ટાઈમ વેન ધ કેપેક્સ ઇઝ ગોઈંગ ટુ પ્લે આઉટ. ત્યાંથી તમારો પાછું મલ્ટીબેગર થઈ શકે. This is a model you can successfully use in capex companies. So Deepak Nitrite was a classic example where they were putting up this phenol plant, and I remember the stock price was around 300 rupees. They went for a QIP. After that also they went for a QIP twice, and the stock price is, even after correcting, is still at around 2,300 rupees. Ultimately it remains a chemical company. I will not consider it to be a consistent compounder, but it will have its rallies off and on, and the product basket bhau motu chhe. 1 or 2 products clicks, the results will improve, but doesn't mean that it is going to be a trend. It will revert back to its commodity nature of the business. Another form of capex is acquisition. કોઈ પણ કંપની બીજી કંપનીને ટેક ઓવર કરે એટલે એ કંપનીની અંદર જેટલી ગંદકી છુપાયેલી છે એ પછી બહાર નીકળે. So that particular company will have a lot of trouble. Labor ni problem આવશે, different forms of problems that can come up. So after that there will be long period of time when this stock price will not do anything. Again 1 or 2 or 3 quarters of good results, management commentary will be good, but there will be nobody ready to listen to these things. કે આનું કશું નથી થવાનું. That is your opportunity. Again, another form of capex is sunken R&D costs. So HPL Power Akyare is one of the darlings of the market. So what happened was this guy APJ Prasad was a technocrat. એને રોજ ફેક્ટરી જવું હોય, રોજ એને કંઈ ને કંઈ નવા પ્રોડક્ટ પર રિસર્ચ કરવી હોય. એની પાસે he was landed with a garbage product which is called industrial battery. That was his main business. Now industrial battery is now a very overcrowded market and the margins had kept on shrinking over a period of time. But that guy, being a scientist, did not give up hope. He kept on putting money in R&D. He was of the view that I want to develop better products. I want to diversify my product portfolio only from batteries into other products. So he was investing money in a system called Kavach, which is TCAS, Train Collision Avoidance System. Now if you read their annual report, they say that they were getting into Kavach right from 2007. જ્યારે કોઈને એ વાતની આઈડિયા જ નથી. So it is only now that with this Vande Bharat trains and everything, this Kavach has come into play and the stock price is enjoying the benefits. Another model is bear market IPOs. મંદીમાં જે પણ IPOs આવે, you watch them very closely and try to find out good companies. Vikram bhai currently I think has put up a list of 3 or 4 companies which are in his watch list. Now knowing him, I think we should work on those companies. Another model is fallen angels. One time they go up like crazy. There is disappointment in terms of results for 1 or 2 or 3 quarters. And this mostly happens with consistent compounder category also. कि 2-3 quarter result ना आए तो these companies are beaten down. If you are smart enough to pick them up, you will get good money. Recent example of fallen angels is Zomato, Policybazaar, all these platform companies. Again, I addressed before also. These are addressing unmet needs of the population. These are the businesses that are not going to die, I think. They will remain. At some point of time, they are going to become profitable. Zomato, I am pretty confident about it because my son orders a lot from Zomato. Technical aspects, I think Neeraj bhai had talked a lot about it, multi-year breakouts, rounding bottom. You can just read through this. We are running short of time. Now, this is important, softer aspects. So, what happens is, after a certain stage, promoters become more forthcoming with the information about the company. Increased transparency. They start presentations, conference calls, management starts meeting individual investors, mutual fund guys, everybody. I have seen that example in Usha Martin and HPL Power. Both of these companies started all these things only recently. So basically that shows the intent of the promoter that they are interested in market cap. So you might as well join them. Now these are the case studies of some of our successful investments. Ajanta Pharma, everybody knows a lot about it. Went up 60 times within a period of 5 years. I've written down all the details, you can go through them later on. Canfin again below book value during 2013-14 period. Modi ji के आने के बाद बहुत change हो गया. Something happened to this company also. The perception related to Canfin changed. Stock went up 30 times in the next 4 to 5 years. Mayur Unicoater again was an example. After coming out of the bear market of 2008, in 2009, the stock price had rallied from 200 to 110. And I found out that the management son, Manav Poddar, had bought 16,000 shares from the open market at 100 rupees. Now that started me wondering, Jani Pasa already 72% stake, why is he buying more? So then you look at the results and the results were coming through. The stock price went up 40 times. Kaveri Seeds was a very good example of a consistent growth company. till the opportunity size became its enemy. Loris Labs, again everybody knows. Usha Martin, we have been talking about it. You can read the details about this. This was the model that I used when I bought Usha Martin at around 80-85 bucks. And Prasant Jawar was all the time selling, so there was no problem in buying the stock. HBL Power again. Time Techno, I talked about it. J&K Bank. So Jammu Kashmir economy is on a tear. I mean, you can easily make out. And this bank has got 65% market share in the business. It's going to benefit a lot. And the CEO has been telling that our aspirational profit target is 4,000 crores for the next 4 to 5 years. There are 1,300 crores there. If the profit goes up 3 times, stock price will go up 5 to 10 times. So this is about technical analysis. Now I think I'll stop here. Taken a lot of time. You can look at these examples. I have written down the salient points and you can look at these examples and get an idea. I think. Thank you for patiently listening.
Thank you so much, sir, for very informative talk. Now I request our chairperson for a quick comment.
Thank you, Hitesh Patel. I came specifically to Surat from Bombay to hear Hitesh Patel. We are all lucky to get this thing, it is almost like a big class for us. One thing that I would tell is that sir has been running a value picker site and everybody should spend at least 15 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever stock you are buying, just go through the threads, it is a big help.
Good afternoon, sir. How to sell? Only one question.
There are 2 models you can use on how to sell. What we usually see is if the next 2 to 3 years of growth is captured in the current valuations, then probably I will sell because there will be an opportunity cost attached to that. Because the fraud and re-rating can take the stock only so much, not more than that. The other thing is a technical thing, which Neeraj Bhai said is 10-week moving average and 30-week moving average. That is a very important model. Another model that I can share with you, which I have observed after looking at so many charts, is whenever the stock price reaches twice the value of its 200-day EMA, it finds it very difficult to sustain at those levels. Many times it goes into sideways, it corrects 10 to 20% and then again resumes its journey, or it just crashes. So those 2 models you can use.